Valentine's Day. For most of us, it's all about flowers, chocolates, celebrating the person you love. But what happens when that day goes horribly wrong? For some people, February 14th isn't about love at all. It's about obsession, terror, and straight-up violence. So today, we're going to dive into 3 true stories where the day of love took a seriously dark turn. I miss you. Just listen to that. These are the words that kick off one of our stories today. It's so chilling because it's a perfect example of how quickly affection can just curdle into something else entirely, something way darker.
So yeah, we're looking at 3 totally different cases today. They all happen right around Valentine's Day, but the reasons behind them, completely different. We're talking obsession, greed, and revenge. And you're going to see how all 3 can lead to the exact same awful ending.
All right, let's start with our first story. And this one, it begins somewhere super normal, a local food store. It's about an employee there and this customer, a guy named Damian. What started as just some harmless flirting, well, it spiraled into a terrifying, full-blown obsession.
Yeah, and these are the victim's own words. It really sets the scene, doesn't it? At first, Damian was just some guy with cheesy pickup lines. Maybe a little annoying, but you wouldn't think he was a threat, right? It's just such a classic, scary example of how stalking can start so small, so under the radar, that you just dismiss it until it's way too late.
And you can just see the buildup here, how methodical it was. This wasn't something that happened overnight. Nope, it started with those cheesy lines, then boom, he's showing up every single day. By the time early February rolls around, he's literally counting down the days to Valentine's Day. He turned a day of love into his own personal, terrifying deadline.
Okay, this was the absolute breaking point. So it's Valentine's Day. Damian comes up to our counter with a pack of condoms. She asks him why she should give them to him for free, and he hits her with this absolutely horrifying threat. Can you even imagine? For her, that was it. In her own words, she was finally done.
But Damian, he wasn't done. Not by a long shot. So they throw him out of the store, and you'd think she could finally breathe, right? But that relief, it didn't last. That paranoid feeling you get walking to your car alone at night, hers was totally justified. The threat didn't just punch out when her shift ended. No, it followed her right to the one place she should have been safe.
And this is where it all comes to a head. It's just a horrifying climax. She gets home, she calls out for her roommate, thinking everything's normal, and then Damian just emerges from inside her house. He puts a knife to her stomach and just starts stabbing her over and over. The only reason she's alive is because her roommate suddenly showed up, shouted, and scared Damian off. Thank God for that roommate, who called 911 and kept pressure on her wounds until help could get there.
So, what happens after all that? Well, Damian Davis gets arrested, and the evidence against him, it's just overwhelming. I mean, they had surveillance video from outside the house, ring camera audio of the screams, and then he actually confessed. And not just to the stabbing, he also admitted he was the one who'd slashed her tires before. Just unbelievable.
Okay, let's shift gears. Our next story is totally different. We're moving away from that slow burn stalker situation to the just explosive terror of a home invasion. In this case, Valentine's Day isn't the big climax of an obsession. It's just the random, brutal backdrop for a night of absolute violence.
So, picture this. You've got a couple and their roommate just having a quiet Valentine's night at home. They're cooking a nice dinner together, the vibe is totally relaxed, they're cleaning up, about to chill on the couch, and in a split second, their entire world just gets shattered.
This quote from one of the victims, wow, it just captures that exact moment perfectly. His brother is just popping out to the liquor store. The front door opens, and then he hears his brother's voice again. But it's different. It's nervous. It's tense. He's talking to someone else. And then, bam, the door slams shut.
2 armed men just burst in, shoving the brother back inside the apartment. And what happened next was just an hour of pure hell. All 3 of them were held at gunpoint. The female victim was sexually assaulted. The 2 guys were stripped naked and whipped with belts. And all the while, these invaders were just ransacking the place, stealing everything they could get their hands on.
So the main guy, Motti Wilson, he did get caught. He was sentenced to 20 years in prison. But his accomplice? Never identified, never caught, never faced justice.
And that's just such a chilling, unresolved piece of this horrible, traumatic night. All right, for our last story, we're shifting again. This time, we're moving away from the violence of strangers and into something much more intimate. The horror of a love that's just been completely destroyed. This is the story of Clara Harris, a wife who found out about her husband's betrayal on Valentine's weekend and decided to take revenge into her own hands.
So Clara had a hunch her husband, David, was cheating on her. She was thinking about divorce, but she needed proof. So what does she do? She hires a private investigator. With Valentine's Day coming up, she figures he's going to have to show his hand, either come crawling back to her or make plans with the other woman. Well, the PI pretty quickly confirmed it was the second one.
But, it wasn't just that he was having an affair that sent her over the edge. It was where he took his mistress. It was the exact same hotel where he and Clara had gotten married 10 years before. I mean, can you imagine a more personal, profound betrayal? That's just a whole other level.
So the investigator tells her to stay away, but she doesn't listen. She drives right to the hotel, finds them, and confronts them in the lobby. After they kick her out, she just waits in her car. And when David comes out to the parking lot and stands in front of her Mercedes, she just floors it. She hits him, sends him flying. Then she circles the car and runs over his body 3 more times. And then she reverses and parks the car right on top of him. And the craziest part? The private investigator she hired caught the whole thing on video.
And here's the final, just tragic irony of this whole thing. Clara Harris was sentenced to 20 years in prison in February of 2003. And the exact date of her sentencing, it would have been her and David's 11th wedding anniversary. Just wow.
So there you have it. 3 stories, 3 absolutely horrific outcomes, and they're all tied together by Valentine's Day. So what do we even take away from all this? Let's try to break it down.
You really see 3 completely different paths to violence here, right? For the stalker, Damian, it was all about obsession, this twisted fantasy that he was somehow entitled to her affection. For the home invader, it was just pure cold greed. People were just objects in the way of getting what they wanted. And for Clara Harris, it was all about revenge, a love so betrayed that it literally turned into murderous rage.
And all of this kind of leaves us with one last, really unsettling thought. A day like Valentine's Day, it has all this pressure, all these expectations built into it, and it just seems to amplify everything, the good and the bad. It forces us to confront our deepest emotions. And what these stories really show us is that sometimes that line between love and hate, it's terrifyingly, dangerously thin.